What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Wednesday, February 5th, 2025 edition of the Daily Energy Newsbeat. Standup. Here are today's top headlines. First up, China to impose tariffs on US LNG. Tariffs are back after Canada and Mexico caved 25 minutes into tariffs. Now all of a sudden China's in on it. We will cover it all. Trump then demands rare earth metals from Ukraine. We got to go get that money. It's exactly what Lindsey Graham said. Next up, South African minister calls for halt to mineral exports to the U.S. Oh, guys, it's getting spicy out there. Next up, new EPA chief Lee Zeldin targets anti-Trump bureaucrats, vows to fill key roles. And then finally, I'm going to mess this name up, Hapag-Lloyd LNG-powered container ship wraps up financing for 24 of them. Pretty unbelievable. Stu will then toss it over to me. We will then quickly cover what's going on in the oil and gas markets. Mixed day for oil. Up, it was down, kind of mix of tariffs, mix of not. We also then will quickly cover the API crude oil inventory guesstimate, which dropped at about 3:30 local our time. And then finally, in win for Trump, oil giant Shell walks away from major New Jersey offshore wind farm in a massive win for the whales and a massive L for myself. As always, I am Elon Omar, joined by Stuart Turley and special guest Rey Trevino. Super excited to have you, man. We're down here at NAPE. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, my gosh. Thank you all both so much for having me on. What a whirlwind it's already been down here at NAPE. I tell you what, the energy here in Houston is just so high. It's totally different than it was just last year. And I think it actually honestly just has to do with the fact that Donald Trump is president. And everybody's already walking around this town with a pep in their step. I tell you what, it's just been amazing.
No, we're fired up. We're fired up.
If I may, speaking of fired up, you two, oh my gosh, enjoyed yesterday's episode. I mean, for those out there, I hope y'all go back and listen to February 4th episode. That was yesterday. You two got into it. I loved it. But I do have to agree with Stu on that, hey, you know what? Let what's his face get in there, the Doge guy,
Elon Musk.
Let Elon Musk get in there, because I need to know where all this money is going. And I love that one senator the other day that put a real good spin on it, which is, yes, but that only constitutes for 1% of this. Yeah. Like, still though, $40,000 to somewhere. Give me a break. But anyway, so I recommend to all the listeners out there, if you have not gone back and listened to yesterday's episode, I can't believe I got you two sitting next to each other the way it ended yesterday. But
live in person, baby.
We are in striking distance.
Absolutely. Yes. Go ahead and kick us off, Stu. Where do you want to begin?
Hey, let's start with China to impose tariff on US LNG. This also went out on Substack.
Yes.
Hey, the China Ministry of Finance said in a statement Tuesday, the U.S. government announced that February 1st imposition of 10% tariff on all Chinese goods exported to the U.S., citing fentanyl shipments and other things. Oh, guess what their response was? We are going to tariff LNG.
Yeah. I tell you what, they imported the most they ever have, China did last year alone. And they're geared up and teed up, mind you, to even buy more in 2025. Let's see how good this economy really is and see how long, because as Michael Tanner mentioned in the intro there, you know, Canada and Mexico came pretty darn quick.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, well, the difference with China is their power demands are, you know, here in the United States, we produce about 13 million barrels of crude oil, and we consume about 21. So we are a net importer, and we actually import a lot more relative to what we export due to the different blends. We do get a lot from Canada. It's part of the reason why Canada caved so quickly is because we buy a lot of their Canadian oil sands crude. China, it's about double what we are. Right. So they are a huge net importer, meaning, okay, great, you're going to tariff all. They could quave quick. They have a little bit an easier job to sustain this, but as we've talked about on the show, Stu, a lot, their economy's not doing great.
No, and you know, I like how you brought up the fact that we're producing, you know, somewhere between 13 to 14 million barrels of oil a day. And here in the great state of Texas, we just got our numbers for the month of October. I know a few months, but we finally got them. And actually, Texas produced 44% of all oil that was produce in America in October alone. So we're doing a pretty darn good job, and we really can't complain. And don't forget that Texas is, as we go back into the story, the actual liquid natural gas Saudi Arabia of the world. So I say bring it on, and let's see how long they can last. But I loved how one individual from the world, from China, said this was a violation of the World Trade Organization to put these tariffs on. And it's like, give me a break. Stu, that's not real, is it?
No. In fact, they how much do they actually buy from the United States? They tariff anything anyway. So, in fact, Canada has tariffs on the U.S. right now on agriculture, 250%. So this is the tariff. All the tariff talk out there is hogwash. What we are seeing is a right sizing on the rest of the world. President Trump go forth and tariff.
And he's expected to speak to the president of China, Xi Jinping, here real soon, if I'm correct.
Oh, what a concept. World leaders talking to each other.
But Xi Jinping just had a potential alleged stroke. I just heard this Sunday. And so that he has had the CCP has removed him from control from the military. So there are some things going on over there.
Oh, interesting.
Stu, if I may, I always enjoy listening to this show. Your other shows you get to watch and listen at the same time. But when you do your quotations, like usually when you say it, you usually just come out and say it's a conspiracy theory. But when you're doing quotations, does that also mean it's a conspiracy?
Yes.
Okay.
Unsubstantiated, but
it was Maria on Maria Bartiromo. So a quotation around Maria. Okay. I have not substantiated. Normally, I have people call me from around the world. This was not a direct. This was from Maria.
Well, Ms. Bartiromo at Fox Business, I'm sure knows a thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, what's next?
Let's go to Trump demands rare earth minerals from Ukraine. You can't buy this one. Kyiv will have to supply Washington with rare earth minerals if it wants to continue receiving energy. It says if it wants to conceive. Yeah, go figure that out. Yeah. U.S. President Donald Trump told journalists on Monday Ukraine will need to enter in a new agreement. I'll tell you what, President Trump, God bless him, you sit back and go, we've given everything to Ukraine, and then we have that little short guy, what's his name? Zelensky.
Michael Tanner.
Yeah, Michael Tanner. The Zelensky doesn't even know that he can't place where, he doesn't know where the money is. We only got a fourth of the money.
That's ridiculous.
It is just absolutely ridiculous. So, gotta love President Trump. Way to go, President Trump. Go get us some rare earth minerals. Let's roll over to South Africa. South African minister calls for a halt to mineral exports to U.S. This is hilarious. If you thought that first story from RT Substack was funny, this one is a hoot. Let's withhold minerals to the U.S., the minister says. They don't give us any money. Let's not give them minerals. This is because we turned off the U.S. aid corruption. Only 5% of what the billions and billions of dollars that went through U.S. aid went to the other countries. The rest of it was to regime change, to Democrats, to the deep state. And it was unbelievable. 600 high-paid employees with all these great places around the world. And this guy has the balls to not watch our podcast. You got to be just making my day.
You don't support coups in Yugoslavia?
No. I am a let's quit spending money around the world guy.
And I don't know how much minerals we actually get from South Africa. It'd be like, if we're like, hey, we're going to stop importing oil from New Zealand. Oh, great. We shut it all off. We don't get much from them.
No, we just got a whole new supply in Ukraine, and let's go to Greenland.
I love the Ukraine, to go back to that. And absolutely, we've been sending them so much money that, it's time. I'm sorry. Last time I checked, you're going to come, all right, you're going to cough up something. And what I also thought is hilarious is Lindsey Graham, who I think is a great guy. I do. I support him. He turned real quick going, hey, come on. Give me
I'd
those.
like to see it.
Because last time I checked, Lindsey Graham was on Fox News all the time saying, we need to support our brothers in Ukraine. Send them more money. Send them more money. And now he's flipped real quick going, give us your minerals.
Right. Personally, I think he needs to be primaried out, but that's just me. Let's go to new EPA Chief Lee Zeldin targets anti-Trump bureaucrats. And I've got one for you here I got a question for you on this one here. President Trump, the EPA, I love Lee Zeldin. Lee, if you're out there, I want to have you and Chris Wright on a panel, and we want to talk about how we can deliver lowering the cost across the United States to all consumers in the United States. But RT, if we're going to lower costs, President Trump said to Lee, by the way, if you're going to put out one regulation, you have to eliminate 10 others.
Yes.
Wow. That is how you do it. Could regulations, lowering regulations, help an EMP operator save money?
Oh, absolutely. Be just in the bureaucracy alone and jumping through the hoops that this is going to be able to save operators money, not only in Texas, but more importantly, in other parts of the world where the Bureau of Land Management really manages all the minerals and everything that goes on. And, you know, for anybody out there that's ever watched Shameless Plug or listened to my show, The Crude Truth, I've been on there before saying that I support the EPA. Yep. It has done wonderful things in its time. We don't talk about the acid rain up in the Northeast anymore. You know, the Clean Water Act of the 1970s, late 60s. It has done great things, but it has been turned in the last 20 years into a weapon against the oil and gas industry. And so to have somebody like Lee Zeldin in there, very, very excited, along with Chris Wright getting sworn in and Doug Burgum. I mean, what a team. What a team.
Yeah, I love this quote that comes out from Secretary Zeldin, who now is officially confirmed 56 to 42. I don't believe that anybody should be here at the EPA who is not committed to the agency mission and the lawful directions coming from the duly elected president of the United States.
I agree.
Good.
He will definitely have his work cut out for him, as this article says, and we know that he can do it. Hey, on my last article for today, the Hapag-Lloyd, bless you, wraps up financing for 24 LNG-powered container ships. This is an important story when you sit back and take a look at container ships that are being powered by LNG. We've also seen Vietnam and about 5 other power plants come on in the last several months of LNG to direct electricity generation power plants come online. All these ships, LNG is here to stay.
Yep.
And this is how we're going to help right size the trade deficit with the EU. The EU is really going to need to be buying a lot of LNG.
But also, there's a little tidbit in here that I find hilarious, and this goes back to something you aptly pointed out 4 years ago when we first started doing the show. The first line of this article, you know, Hapag-Lloyd said on Tuesday that the financing will be carried out on the basis of its, quote, green financing framework. LNG, it's the sleight of hand. I remember when it was global warming was going to kill us. Then they switched it to climate change. And all of a sudden, natural gas a couple of years ago was going to kill us all. And now, sleight of hand, natural gas is now green.
Whenever you have Bill Gates, who is one of the greatest days of my life is when I hacked that man off, just like I did you the other day. I had this knack for doing that to folks, and I made him so mad. He had a blood vein come right across his forehead, and if I could do it again, I would do it again. But Bill Gates said, we need natural gas to get to AI. Yep. And then Larry Fink, same thing.
Good friend of the show.
Good friend of the show. So when you do that, you see Larry Fink and Bill Gates saying that it's time for natural gas is great again.
Yeah, it is. No, it is funny. All right, let's go ahead and jump over and talk a little finance, guys. But before we do that, we have to pay the bills. As always, the news and analysis, or quote analysis you just heard, is brought to you by the world's greatest website, www.energynewsbeat.com, the best place for all your energy and oil and gas news.
Hold on. How fast are you going to say that? Energynewsbeat.com. For those out there, please go to that website. It's amazing. Again, so that just in case you didn't hear that, energynewsbeat.com.
Yeah, or you can hit the description below for all the links to the timestamps, links to the articles, and check us out on our Substack, theenergynewsbeat.substack.com. Probably the best way to support the show. We have a lot of great custom articles that Stu and the team are writing. We had a white paper that we dropped last week specifically on rare earth minerals that was a big hit. And always you can check out the good old-fashioned Mines Mineral Model. We have the link there in the description. And we also like to shout out sponsor of the show, Reese Energy Consulting, and our good good friends over there. We're going to be able to see a lot of them down here at NAPE. Guys, if you're an oil and gas company and you feel like you're getting screwed on your margins when it comes to your natural gas contracts or your oil first purchasers, Steve Reese and Reese Energy Consulting is here to help. There's 20 to 30 cents for every MCF you're leaving on the table. Don't leave that up to chance. Call our good friends over at Reese Energy Consulting to get that squared away. Get better deals, save money, make more. It's awesome. We love them over there. And as always, check out investinoil.energynewsbeat.com if you are interested in becoming Billy Bob Thornton from Landman, saving money on taxes, and also giving yourself a nice steady distribution. We have some great resources we can send you if you are interested. One of our colleagues wrote a fantastic ebook we can send you on all of the ins and outs of oil and gas investing. Again, guys, that's investinoil.energynewsbeat.com. But let's check in overall on top line indices. Yeah, S&P 500 was actually up about 0.75 of a percentage point. NASDAQ up mostly, actually up about double, 1.26 percentage points, mainly due to the fact that it's a lot of rebound relative to DeepSeek. We did see 2 and 10-year yields drop about 0.8 of a percentage point. Dollar index down about 0.3 of a percentage point. Bitcoin falls 4 percentage points, currently trading just below 98,000 at about 97,842. Crude oil basically flat day over day. We kind of sagged in the early morning trading session, hit a big spike up in the morning, mainly due to the engagement of the tariffs. Brent oil, 0.75 of a percentage point, which is our E&P securities contract, actually jumped about 2.4 percentage points. As I mentioned, guys, oil fell yesterday mainly due to the fact that Canada came out about 20 minutes after the tariffs were announced, went ahead and reneged. Trump came out this morning and basically put renewed pressure on Iran. Iran does about 2 to 3 million barrels a day of oil exports, and if you can assume that's being taken off the market, things are going to get spicy. So you can kind of see, if you're kind of watching the oil charts there, it was basically a sag down in the early morning. At about noon, boom, huge spike up when this was announced. We also did see that this was a presidential memorandum that was signed alongside Benjamin Netanyahu, who's the prime minister over there in Israelis. Basically, he ordered the U.S. Treasury Secretary to impose, quote, maximum economic pressure on Iran, which includes more oil sanctions and enforcement mechanisms. That was basically enough to settle oil down basically flat. And, as we remember, guys, he had basically driven, and by he, I mean President Trump has basically driven Iran's oil exports to near zero. And that was during his first term. So I think a lot of the movement we're seeing in oil prices right now is due to that expectation. As we know, good friend of the show, Joe Biden, went ahead and bled about 2 to 3 million barrels back onto the market, which is probably a lot of the reason why they were able to do some of the chicaneries they've been doing out in the Middle East. We also did see the API crude oil inventory guesstimate. As you guys listen to this at about 10:30, you'll hear the actual EIA crude oil stock numbers, but API estimating about a 5.025 million barrel build in the crude oil stocks over there at Cushing. That was a forecast of about 3.17 million barrels. Previously, we saw a 2.8 million barrel build. So big build. That'll be very interesting to see where the EIA comes in at. So we've got to talk tariffs here, because I think when it comes to where prices are going, and RT, I'll start with you, then I want to go to Stu here. What when it comes to prices, and specifically Canada, do you see these tariffs hurting or helping oil prices?
Oh, I mean, in the short term, obviously, if the tariffs actually were to come into play, they're gonna hurt. I mean, everybody's gonna feel it at the pump. Obviously, the price of oil does go up because it does have to get paid by somewhere. I don't think we're even going to get to that point. The whole point to these tariff threats is to make sure that we continue to get oil at a fair price and secure the north border just as much as we secure the southern border. I know that a lot of people are probably like, what do the two have to do with each other? They have everything to do with everything. The fact that the more energy secure we are here in America, the more our national security is going to be safe.
Are you willing to pay more at the pump to teach Canada a lesson?
I don't think it'll have to be that problem, but I think Canada will have to understand that we have been paying for they have tariffed the snot out of us.
Yeah.
So, and I love my Canadian friends up there. In fact, I would love to have Alberta as the 51st state. Let's leave the rest of Canada alone. But yet, honestly, I don't think it's going to wash out.
Yeah, I mean, it's common sense is obviously a tariff's going to hurt because, we're just, so that's common sense. But again, it's not going to get to that. I mean, they've already caved once. I mean, look what Colombia did. I mean, overnight, right? Was it Colombia that like within minutes, it was like, oh no. Yeah. And we have some good friends from Canada, like a good friend, Keith Stelter. He's from Canada. Yep. So, a lot of good common sense people come from Canada. But Stu, you said it right. They have been doing this to us for years and we don't even know it. So guess what? It's actually going to help the American people out.
We only 2% of our GDP. I mean, that's really not an issue. We have so much in energy exports that are going to start rolling through. Canada, if you are listening to this, your leadership brought this on you guys, not us. And it's because when you had the pipeline, the energy-free pipeline that was going to be carrying oil across Canada, you all canceled your own pipeline and put you at our disposal because the only way you get oil products to your other side is on U.S. pipelines. So y'all got us some really bad people up there leading your policies.
Well, hopefully we can get, what's his name, Pierre Polvever, who's the guy that running up there. Hopefully we can get in there. All right, let's finish up with this, guys. In a win for Trump, oil giant Shell walks away from major New Jersey offshore wind farm. I think a win for people, win for whales, loss for me, as I am probably the biggest offshore wind fan known to mankind. Really in the first, this is kind of the first fallout from kind of President Trump's early energy policy. Shell has confirmed to the Associated Press it is writing off the project, citing three things: increase in competition. That seems like a scam to me. I don't believe the increasing competition. It's probably decreasing competition, but hey, it's a press release. IR guy of the week.
Increasing competition for money.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
We'll let him finish out.
The second is delays, and the third is the changing market. I believe there's a changing market. Yes. I believe there's a changing market.
And here's what that tells me. Those subsidies are going away. Shell's not, we know that, the Shell's got more hands and more ears in D.C. than Pecos does.
Yep.
So that tells me that these subsidies are going away, which I think is great. It's going to only level the playing field that much more for a free market to let the individuals decide what form of energy they want to use to power their vehicles, in some ways. So I'm very excited about that. But that's what that tells me more than anything else, is that there's probably no doubt those subsidies are going away. And thank goodness now, because there are endangered species of whales that are getting horrifically hurt. Their numbers are getting hurt by these offshore wind farms. That is a fact. So I need to see all these green people be celebrating the fact that the whales are going to be safe. No, nothing.
Well, I have a long-standing beef with the whales anyway, so I actually enjoy the offshore wind farms. If that's
you still use whale oil for your your light.
Absolutely. It is funny. We have to remember, guys, Trump did sign on the first day of office an executive order that basically halted all lease sales on federal waters and put a pause on all approvals, permits, and loans. Perhaps this is of most interest to Shell. The order does direct the administration to review existing offshore wind energy leases and identify any legal reason to terminate them. I have a feeling they was going to get terminated anyway. Basically, according to Robin Schaefer, he's the president of Protect Our Coast, New Jersey, said that without Shell's financial backing, it appears that the project is dead in the water, and Shell is writing off nearly $1 billion of an investment. Holy smokes. That's a big one there. We did see that it did, because of that, they did report on Thursday of last week a 16% decline in full year earnings. And we did know that Danish wind developer Ørsted was beginning to work on that. So pretty unbelievable. So that's really all I've got, guys. What are you most excited about? Starting with you for Nape.
I tell you what, to be here again, the energy is there. The lineup, the amount of individuals, amount of quality E&P companies, the amount of just people that are going to be here that you just cannot, the amount of just, what do you call it? Knowledge that's going to be in the room. But that's what I'm excited about. Y'all mentioned Steve Reese, who's a sponsor of y'all's show. I think he's going to be on Stu's podcast live on the Nate floor. Is that correct?
He called in sick. Steve and I are going to have a monthly episode.
Oh, okay.
We'll get somebody. You guys check out Steve Reese booth's going to be there. We will be at booth 3117.
That's right.
Come check us out. What are you most excited for?
I'm excited to see everybody because it was so much fun. We had 35 podcasts we produced. I mean, it was a brute.
It was a great time.
It was a great time.
I'm excited. The other one I do want to do a shout out. I want to say thank you. I'm very excited. I get an opportunity to finally meet Jamie Elrod and Maciel Diaz of Flipping the Barrel. I get to interview those two wonderful ladies that have just truly been, I think they probably got the top oil and gas podcast, if I'm correct. And it's just awesome that they're going to be here at NAPE this year, and I get a chance to meet them because I actually have never met those two ladies. And I'm just very excited about that, as well as all the other wonderful interviews that we've got lined up at the NAPE floor.
Absolutely, guys. So with that, we're going to let you guys get out of here, get back to work, start your day. Appreciate you making Energy Newsbeat part of your day. For Stuart Turley, Rey Trevino, I'm Michael Tanner. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.